he was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, I'm an ultra marathon runner. Like, you could tell he was hurt. And the guy never left his camp. He's like, well, what do you do if you shoot one? He ended up messaging his wife, and she came and got him in like a couple days, and he left his
Whoa.
buddies back in the backcountry. Encouragement, right? Like, are you encouraging her to go to the gym and stuff? No matter what, like your wife gains a little weight or not. I love my wife from top to bottom, dude. You
Same.
know, like my wife, she is the one puts our daughter down every single night. And it's because that's what our daughter wants. She wants mommy to read her stories. Who am I to be like, no, 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 no. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to cook dinner. I'm not going to do the dishes. I'm going to grab a drink. Okay, I'm gonna go watch a movie or something like that. When we're done eating dinner, you have to still do the dishes, and the kid's gonna get to bed late, and then you're gonna be the one that has to deal with that.
Mom is taking care of that child because that child's in survival mode. And it is our
Yeah.
job as husbands to be taking care of our wife because they're in a survival mode.
Yes.
All right, Josh Kirchner, I am glad that you came on the podcast. Josh, you are a husband, father, a writer, and a hunter.
Yep, that's me. That's me. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, me too. We've gone back and forth over the years talking about hunting on social media. Been following you, seeing your page grow. I remember when you didn't even have like 10,000 followers on Instagram, and now you're like almost to 20,000,
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I've been
Yeah, it's
growing,
been a
and
minute, man.
yeah. So I want to. Oftentimes, I think in this day and age, people don't realize how difficult backcountry archery hunting is. Um, I want to give our viewers a little insight on like the hard work that it takes to be successful. Not someone who just goes, but to be successful, pack out the discipline that entails to be successful. If you don't mind sharing that.
Yeah, so before I get into what it takes to be successful, I think making the decision to go is your like the first obstacle. That's the thing where, a lot of people like the idea of backcountry bow hunting, but a lot of people never end up pulling the trigger on it. You know what I mean? They're kind of window shoppers. Um, because when it comes down to it, especially, um, say your buddies bail on you or something, right? And then it's like, oh, I've never done this before, and now I got to do it alone.
Yep.
You know, that's another game, dude. Now you're adding a whole nother layer to things. So, I think just making the decision and going through the motions of a backcountry bow hunt is the first step to being successful, right? Because and if you don't get anything, that's fine, but you're not going to get anything if you're not out there. So,
Yep.
um, the next thing that I've noticed is that when people do make the decision, they're like, I'm back here. You know what I mean? I'm back here. I'm archery hunting. Um, I, they almost talk themselves out of like making moves on animals, and it's probably, I think it's really more due to just probably a lack of confidence in themselves, which is what I experienced when I first started backcountry bow hunting. Like you work so hard to get into these areas and stuff, and once you're back there, admittedly, a lot of times you're gassed. It's
Hmm.
like you're beat up, um which we'll get into later, but like they're sitting there looking at a deer or whatever, and then they're like, yeah, but I don't know if he's going to be there when I get over there. I don't know what the wind is doing over on that side of the basin, stuff like that. And what it really all comes down to is I think that a lot of folks, they're trying to avoid failure, right? Um, but the only way towards success is to go through failure. Failure is the building blocks of success. Um, and that's the only way you're going to learn. So, yes, you just go over there. What's the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to mess up and you're going to start over again. But I guarantee you are going to gain something from that mess up. Okay, that is going to be one more tool in your toolkit to help you in the future. um so it's diligence, right? It's diligence. It's having the wherewithal to see it through on some of these hunts. And because the fact of the matter is you don't know what you don't know,
Hmm.
right? You don't know, like, who knows, maybe you go over there and it works out. But if you sit back and talk yourself out of doing it, coming up with over analyzing the situation, trying to be, I don't mean to be disrespectful at all, but trying to like be a good hunter, right? And like
Yeah.
think of all the ways that this thing is not going to work out instead of thinking of the ways that it is going to work out, right? Coming across more positive and just going over there and going for it, man. You're not going to hit the ball if you don't swing. So,
Yep.
um, another thing, to back up, I mentioned being beat up, right? Like being
Yeah.
back there and being beat up. Um, that takes folks out, man. Okay, so like I remember I've told this story before, but I think it just rings true. I was in the Idaho backcountry years ago. I think I was on like day 8 solo or something like that. Just longing for a conversation, and I ran into a fella back there that he packed in with his buddies. And I actually watched these folks get into their camp the night before, and he was trudging, man. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
He could tell he was hurting. The guy never left his camp. He never left his camp once he got back and saw the country that was back there. He's like, well, what do you do if you shoot one? You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, yeah, it's big. Everything's a big send, right? Like
Yep.
it's big stuff. It's like, so he stayed back, and he ended up messaging his wife, and she came and got him in like a couple days, and he left his
Whoa.
buddies back in the backcountry. Um, and now, to fast forward, I've kept in contact with some of these folks. The dude's still going back in, and he's done
Okay.
better for himself in the future. Like, he snapped out of it, but in the beginning, like, that's how it was for him. And
Hmm.
he was telling me, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm an ultra marathon runner." Like, he like thought that was all he needed to do, like just a treadmill in order to get ready for a backcountry hunt, and he was going to be good. And it was like, okay, well, just because you can run 26 miles doesn't mean that you're
Yeah.
ready for a backpack hunt,
Hmm.
right? You got to be durable is the other thing. Endurance. I fully believe that backcountry hunting is an endurance sport,
Hmm.
but you would be really doing yourself a disservice if you didn't spend at least a little bit of time on like building strength in some
Yes.
areas to make sure you don't break. Right? That's what it's
Hmm.
all about. You can go forever, that's fine, but I tell you what, like, you know, guys that are built like toothpicks, that have it, they can go forever, but they don't have like a strong core or strong, legs or anything like that. Like, that is going to eat away at you. And especially with, you throw on, 40, 50 pound pack or something like that going into camp. Like, yeah, you're gonna feel it, dude. And that breaks people down, and it cuts down their confidence, right? So I think
Yep.
that's another thing I think that keeps people from being successful in the backcountry.
Yeah. It is. It's hard to explain to somebody who's never experienced it. Like I, I work diligently year round. So if I'm on a
Hmm.
solo hunt, I can take a deer out all by myself in one trip. I don't care if it's
Hmm.
8 miles, 11 miles. But my very first year hunting, I didn't know that I was not ready to do that because I was like, I go
Right.
to the gym, I work
Hmm.
hard. And I didn't get anything my first year, but my second year, I had a buddy help me pack out an animal and we did it in one trip and I got my ass kicked.
Hmm.
And I was like, there's no way I could have done this last year because I put in so much more work over the year. It was like there was no way.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I've gone on hunts with buddies and I've literally carried the whole camp, the whole animal out for them just because they wanted to go hunt, but they weren't capable of packing out even meat of their own. and it's like
Yeah.
I'll do it. But it definitely took me a while. And like you said, there is a strength aspect. When you have 150 pounds, 200 pounds in your pack, and you have to hike through the mountains,
Yeah.
there's a whole level of that that I think people don't realize. The being out there by yourself alone, because I've been successful in solo hunts. I know you've been successful in a dozen solo hunts. There's a mentality, there's a mindset that you have to go, you can't just imagine troubles. Well, what if I break my leg? It's like, okay, then you're going to just sit at camp. And like you said, you're not
Hmm.
going to make plays because you're just two in your head. Um, but I don't think the average person understands that, like what it takes.
No, yeah, no, you can't. You can only do so much right from home, right? Like
Hmm.
the best way to um you just got to go get dirty is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
But and it's a big thing. It's like you know, the best way I think to prepare for backcountry hunting physically is so I like doing a number of things, but like I love trail running and stuff. But I also, I do like a fair amount of strength training at home and stuff. But when it comes down to it, put like weight in your backpack and go walk like that right there, you're literally doing exactly what you're going to be doing out in the mountains, and if you are fortunate enough to live in a place that has topography, like I like 10-15 minutes from my house, I got some mountains near me that I can jump on a trail and crank out a couple miles on with a weighted pack. Like that is really, really, you are matching the hatch on training. um when it comes to backpack hunting by doing that. You got the uneven ground, the rocks, the whole 9 yards, the elevation gain and loss. You're doing it. Plus, I think that's a great way you're getting to know your gear.
Hmm.
Like newer backcountry hunters, especially, they get all excited, and I don't blame them. I love gear, but
Hmm.
like they get all excited and they spend a grip of money on gear. But fail to really, really put it to the test before a hunt, um, and then end up in trouble on a hunt because either they're not familiar with how to totally use the gear that they have, or they didn't know that the gear wasn't going to work for them because they didn't actually try it,
Yeah.
right? Super important.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Not breaking in their boots properly, then they're
Yeah.
just getting blisters, not wearing the right socks. There's
Hmm.
so much that can go into it. So I want to ask you, how does being a backcountry archery hunter, how does that play a role in your marriage? Even if you have to think of like the subconsciousness of how that plays in you being a husband and how you present yourself as a husband.
So, um, this has been said before, but I truly, truly believe, like, if you, and we're not all cut from the same cloth, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Um, but for me, when I go backpack hunting, it is even if I go just if I even if I have a truck camp, dude, like just being out in the mountains and spending time away in the dirt, that is incredibly therapeutic for me. Um, it is an escape from not my wife. Like I don't need breaks from my wife. That's not how my marriage is. We get cranky when we're apart.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but um a break away from the daily grind, and
Hmm.
and a mental reset. So I truly, truly believe that I come back in better shape mentally than before I left. Okay, and like right now, for instance, like I'm leaving in a week to go on a solo backpack hunt in Idaho. And it's only been maybe a month since my last hunt, but I feel that. Like I feel anxiety a little bit, like
Hmm.
get like a rat in a cage, if you would.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I and she knows that. She know, like my wife literally tells me, I'm not joking, I'm not making this up. She tells me that I need to make sure I do a couple solo backpack hunts a year because she knows that I need that,
Yeah,
you
no, that
know.
is.
Yeah. So so I think that's the biggest thing in relation to my marriage is just, marriage is all about that like the secret to marriage in my opinion is communication. It's
Yeah.
being 100% open with one another, telling one another when something is wrong, okay, and not like holding it in and bottling things up, because if you do that, before you know it, you're going to explode if she squeezes a toothpaste in the middle of the goddamn tube. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that's you're like these little things that's going to make you explode. So being very open about that, like my wife and I, we've been together for over 20 years, and um, I think we've had one legitimate argument in that time. Have we had conversations? Yes. Okay. But actual argument, only one time we've had an actual argument during the time we've been together. And I really, really attribute that to a couple things. Is one is the communication thing. Two is support. It's me supporting her and her
Hmm.
supporting me.
Yeah.
Like I um she knows that my thing is bow hunting and like hunting. That's my thing. Okay. And I thought about this the other not too long ago, but and I was like, my thing is hunting, and I went to her and I was like, what is your thing? Because that's important to me. Now I've always like without knowing that, anytime she's ever wanted to do something, I always support her.
Yep.
Okay, where she starts a business, she wants to go on some retreat with friends or something like that, like that's like, let's go do it, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, like I'm into it. But the thing that makes me tick is hunting, and her, I don't think she's given me a straight answer on that yet, like she doesn't have like a thing right now, which is fine. You don't have to have like a thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to ask your partner that, is like, what is your thing? What's the thing that like brings you back to zero?
Hmm.
And she's got some little things that she does. Like she loves yoga, she loves gardening and stuff like that. Like so she'll go in the backyard and garden. That's like her time, right? So maybe those are her things. And like not everything has to involve, 7 days living in the dirt by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that doesn't,
Uh-huh.
everything doesn't have to be like that. Okay, but um I think that's important to know, because like a relationship, it's a two-way street, you know what I mean, like you got to care about what they're doing, and they got to care about what you're doing, and if you picture it like a bird, it takes both wings to fly, right?
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and and that is a relationship to me.
Yeah. So it sounds like our wives are similar because my wife doesn't have a single thing. Like if she makes sure she gets in her Saturday yoga, it's every Saturday at 10:30. If
Yeah.
she, gets in like being able to just go to the spa once every like 2 weeks, she has to be able to go to the gym at least 3 days a week. She has
Hmm.
to like if she likes to just do a shopping day where she just goes. For all I know, she just sits on her phone and scroll, and she comes back with a couple things or a lot of things, but she just takes a day to go do random shopping. And it's like all those things that we literally prioritize because we communicate and we schedule it out, we calendar. She's a stay-at-home mom. She homeschools my kids, my boys, and when we communicate, like you're saying, schedule these things, she's able to do her stuff and she gets those as constant refreshes.
That dude, I think that's amazing. And I think that's especially true. You mentioned your boys, like that's especially true when you got kids,
Hmm.
because that puts a whole nother level to things, a
It
whole
does.
nother level of what I will call like a good stress, right? Like,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
it's a lot, being a parent is a lot. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Anyone that's not a parent that's planning on becoming a parent, it's not a walk in the park. I'm telling you right
Yeah.
now, but it's the best. It's like the best thing you could ever do. Um, but having those breaks, especially mom, like I think back to when my wife, when we first had our daughter, and you know, I mean, when the kid is real small, like there's not they just kind of want mom, like
Hmm.
that's kind of how it goes. I don't blame them, but it's like, and for dads, it's like your time's gonna come, right? You're like
Yeah.
like right now, my daughter is turning 4 in June. Man, things are fun right now.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like things are awesome. But when she was like, 6 months old, a potato, like a lot of times she didn't want anything to do with me. She just wanted mom,
Yep.
because
Yep.
mom has the goods, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
Yes.
Um, so because of that, my wife was on for so long, right?
Hmm.
Because she didn't have a choice, right? So it's like nowadays, like you're like literally like right now, okay, how we have our days set up, okay, is like both of us work from home, and we kind of go on and off throughout the week. Like I get half the week and she gets half the week. But at 3:30, okay, which is when like our workday ends, right? At 3:30, the other person gets 1 hour of time. And then the person that was working takes the kid and hangs out with the kid.
Hmm.
So it's like a lot of times, like that's when I'll get like a workout in or something like that. If my wife is working and then 3:30 hits, okay, here's Juniper. I'm gonna do this workout, or maybe I gotta like mow the lawn or something like that. Just like something like just
Yep.
myself, because I think that's good. Like you get this like mental refresh, like you're talking about, um, and I think the old school like um, thinking that dad like mom does everything and like dad just works or whatever. I think that's, excuse my language. I think that's a bunch of bullshit. Like
Yeah.
it just really is, man. Like dads, I think it needs to be equal. Moms and dads, it's a team. Like raising a kid is a team effort, and just because mom is the mom doesn't mean that dad can't do some of the stuff that mom is doing,
Hmm.
right? And have own a little bit more responsibility. So,
Yeah. I totally agree with that being bullshit, and I'm gonna kind of double down on that because it's one of the things that I talk about a lot in my podcast is, you know, we are the problem, but then also the solution as husbands to all our wife's problems. It's like,
mhm,
what are we doing to support our wife? If being a masculine man is to be a provider, we are to be a provider and to take care of all those around us, whether it's our wife, our children, even in our community. And if we are to put everything on our wife, especially when it comes to the children, what is it that we're providing her with?
right.
Maybe a roof and food, but it's like, but what are we really providing her with outside of that? And it's why, kind of going back to the communication thing, like, to a successful marriage to me, first is be really sexually attracted to them. It's kind of the funny one. And then number two is communication,
Sure.
because it's like, I we schedule things so she has all the free time,
Hmm.
so she can go to the gym, so she can do all these things. It's like anything that a man complains about his wife, I always go, well, what are you doing to support her to achieve those goals? So if a man's
Hmm.
like, I'm not attracted to my wife anymore, she's gained too much weight. It's like, well, are you leading? Where are your abs? Like, are you in shape? One, and then are you
Hmm.
providing her the free time to go to the gym, or are you just expecting her to do everything?
Well,
You
and the other
know?
thing right there, I mean, in that specific situation, is like encouragement, right? Like, are you encouraging her
Mhm.
to go to the gym and stuff? Are you encouraging her? Like I think, like no matter what, like your wife gains a little weight or not, like I I love my wife from top to bottom, dude.
Same. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. But like if you can tell, it's like your wife gains a little bit of weight or whatever. If you can tell that like they're not happy, like wouldn't you want, like if you were in that situation, right? Like wouldn't you want encouragement from her to be like, honey, why don't you take an hour each day or
Hmm.
whatever, or why don't we think about like changing up, the food that we're getting at the grocery store. Like it's a team effort,
It's
man.
a
It really
team.
is. Encourage your wife to get to go to the gym, like give her the time and stuff like that, to do that. And you are, but if you don't do that, I feel like you're setting them up for failure,
Yeah.
right?
No,
And
I
and this and the same goes the opposite way. Like you guys are a unit. You need to work as a unit.
yes. I agree, and I think I don't know what generation it was that kind of got into that mindset of that the wife does everything. And I recently posted a video about how the largest increase in divorce is dual income parents, dual income households, where they still expect the wife to do all the work at the end of the day.
Oh, dude.
And it's like, I mean, I get if you're, it's like, she's a stay at home mom and you're out there slaving away and, there's a little bit of that, but then you're still figuring out a way to help. But when you guys are both still doing 40 and you still just expect to come kick your feet up, regardless
Hmm.
of income too, because I'm like, then you're just putting your ego into it. It's like, well, I make more. I'm working 40 hours. She makes less working 40 hours. And it's like, get your ego out of it, bud.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
don't be
Yeah,
that
dude, like I
insecure. Yeah.
100%, dude. Like I try to like harness these little gaps of time, like during a day. So it's like like an example would be like, oh, if I see that my wife's in the backyard with our daughter playing with the dog or whatever like that. Okay, that needs to be done, right? Like that's a
Hmm.
thing that needs to happen. But if I walk by the kitchen while she's doing that and I'm like, "Oh, there's dishes in the sink." I'm gonna do those dishes, man.
Yeah.
like,
Uh huh.
like that's just, again, because if I don't do that, then the rest of the day, everything else is gonna take longer,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Everything will crumble after that point. Like the kid's not gonna get to bed on time. And then when the kid doesn't get to bed on time, the kid, loses her mind, right? Tired kids, they're cranky, you know what I mean? They don't know how to handle all these emotions and stuff like that. So like then bedtime is rocky when that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like in order, and then like my wife, she is the one that puts our daughter down every single night, and it's because that's what our daughter wants.
Hmm.
Like she wants mommy to read her stories. Okay, so awesome. So it's like, who am I to be like, no, 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 here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna cook dinner, okay? I'm not gonna do the dishes. I'm gonna grab a drink, okay? I'm gonna go watch a movie or something like that. You're gonna cook dinner, and then when we're done eating dinner, I am gonna go pull weeds or something like that, right? So you have to still do the dishes, and the kid's gonna get to bed late, all right? And then you're gonna be the one that has to deal with that.
Yeah.
like, like I'm
Yeah.
just not. That's just not the type of person I am, man. Like it's like it's just another way of, we've mentioned support a lot throughout this
Hmm.
entire conversation. That's another way to support them, And I think, when you're a new parent, like a new dad, um, I've had this conversation quite a bit with like recent friends of mine that or recent new dads that are friends of mine, and they feel helpless in the beginning because of what I said. Because like the kid just wants mom, right? And it's like, well, how do I you feel like you almost can't take care of your kid. But what you can do is, you know what? You could clean the house. You could
Yeah.
vacuum, you could do the dishes, you could make dinner. You can make sure you could like order dinner, whatever it is, to make life easier on your wife because she is, handling the kid because that's what
Hmm.
has to happen, right? That's how you support them during that time. And that right there is, in my opinion, like it's a team effort, right? But in my opinion, that's just as good as you actually taking the kid away from your wife, right? Like you're supporting her. You're
Yeah.
you know you're allowing her. You're taking less stress off of her plate by doing that.
Yeah. Mom is taking care of that child because that child's in survival mode. And it is our
Yeah.
job as husbands to be taking care of our wife because they're in a survival mode.
Yes.
And it's like we don't do anything for that child. It is us who needs to do something for our spouse, our wife in those times. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty
And I
obvious
tried,
to me.
yeah, no, and I tried, like I think it's good. Like I tried to soak up everything I could with my daughter when she was a little baby.
Hmm.
But the truth of the matter is like you're just only going to get so much in the beginning as a dad.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. They want the milk. That's what it is. That
Hmm.
they're addicted to it. I don't blame them. But then once that time passes, right? Like that phase of childhood, ooh, now you get into dad mode even more, man.
Yeah.
Because now, you know what I mean? Now it's like my daughter, I remember she wouldn't take a bottle. We couldn't give her a bottle. Like I tried so many times. We tried so many different methods and worked a little bit, right? But at the end of the day, she wouldn't take a bottle. So what happens now? Okay, like mom has to go to work and go. My wife is a wedding photographer, so like she has to go and shoot a wedding all day. What happens now when dad has to watch the kid and the kid won't eat?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's a stressful time, man. Um, so my kid was glued to my wife. But then after that, then it's like you get this sense of well, I'll just make up a word and call it dadism,
Hmm.
right? Like, like you feel like you can actually take care of your kid when they start eating like normal food and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
And then we definitely get our glory though, because your
oh yeah,
daughter's about to turn 4. Then they just want to like that rough and tumble play. They just
yeah,
they're like now then their attention shifts and is like this giant guy in this art house. He's fun.
yes,
I didn't care
yes,
for him in the beginning. He just was always around, but now
yeah.
he's
No,
fun.
it's been pretty rad, man. My daughter is shooting a bow now, and
Hmm.
she asks me to go shoot the bow. I don't that was something that I was very um like obviously I want my kid to be into hunting, right?
Hmm.
But I didn't want to force it upon her. I want her to want to do it. Um so the fact that she like comes into me and like, "Daddy, can we shoot my bow?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Absolutely." Like stopping everything I'm doing right now. And we're going to go in the backyard and shoot your bow, right? And she just went on her first hunting trip with me like last week, which is amazing. So like, and that's just all starting,
Hmm.
and like like when she was first born, these were just thoughts of mine. I
Yeah.
was like, well, man, I hope someday, well, now it's someday,
Hmm.
so new dads out there, man, like hang in there, like it's like your time is coming, no matter if you're hunters or not. You're gonna your kid is gonna be way more into you than they are right now.
Yeah, I took my son on his first hunt last year. A
Oh,
buddy
cool.
of mine had a muzzleloader tag in an area that we both knew really well, and we normally hike in 8 miles to
Hmm.
this particular spot. And his dad wanted to go, his new fiance wanted to go, and I was like, "Well, if you're taking your dad and fiance, I'm taking my son."
Hmm.
And I asked him, and he was like, "That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome, Dad." And I was like, "I'm pumped." And my buddy, his father's like, "You're really bringing a 6-year-old on a hunt?" And he's like, "It's Jesse. Like, if Jesse wants to bring him, like, I ain't gonna tell Jesse not to." And obviously, there was times, so he didn't complain, which really surprised me. I thought he would whine,
Hmm.
"I'm tired. This is." We did not hike 8 miles in, but we
Sure.
definitely hunted a lot and hiked the bottoms and would hike up. We hiked up to camp and stuff, maybe like 2 miles, and we were trying
Hmm.
to where there's just more like forkies. We didn't see any big bucks because where this particular mountain range, you can you can hike up to 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 feet, and it's where all the
Hmm.
big boys are. There's mountain goats up there. there's bighorn sheep up here where I'm talking. So we maybe stayed in like the 6 to 5,000 elevation range. And anytime I thought he was going to get tired, I just picked him up, put him on my pack, and just kept hiking with
Yeah.
him. And then I would be
Mhm.
like, all right, bud, you ready to go? And he would. I never let him get to the point where he was going to be like, this sucks because I'm hiking too much. And I got him a little tiny backpack that had a water, whatever those things are
Mhm.
called, that he can just suck
Yep.
on. And then I would put him on my pack. Me and my son out hiked my buddy's dad like tenfold. And he was looking into binos and like spotting deer, and he loved it. And the next, like that first morning, it was like 4 o'clock. It's like, hey, we got to get up and we got to go. Or do you want to keep sleeping and we'll hike up later? And he was like, no, 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 let's go. Which we let our boys sleep in till they wake up. My boys are
Mhm.
7 and 3. So at this time, 2 and 6. And we
Mhm.
never wake them up. It's just what we do in
Yeah.
my house.
Yep.
And so, but at 4 in the morning, he was like, no, I'm ready to go. And then the next day, we get up at the same time. I'm like, you should we sleep and we'll catch up to them? He's like, no, Dad, I'm ready. And I was just like, this is awesome. This
Yeah.
is awesome. And this year, um, based off my tags, I don't know that I'm going to take him on one of my hunts because I like to just only hunt with my bow.
Mhm.
But I'm going to take him on a scouting trip with me. We're going to go out for
Mhm.
4 or 5 days, and I, like I said, I was a little bit worried of how he was going to do, but he's a trooper and he really digs it. I mean, I have my first archery mule deer above me, so he sees the mounts, and I see that you got some mounts. And it is that thing where when he was 3 and 4, he would cry, "I want to go hunting with you," but he didn't know what that meant. And it's like, dude,
Mhm.
one day, one day.
Yeah.
And it is just was so cool last year that we got to go on a buddy's hunt, and we were in it. We were up there.
Mhm.
And then the fact that it's like we're already planning a scouting trip together, it is cool. And then it's just a couple more years, then he'll be able to put in for junior tags. And then
Yeah.
it's just it just keeps going.
Yeah. No, I had the same pretty much the same experience, man. We went on a turkey hunt, and it was I was expecting, complaining and so, and being tired and stuff like that. And I never got that. I never got it. We weren't there for a long time, but like, like we hiked in and just like you did, like when she got, tired, just pick them up.
Yeah,
You know what
put
I
them on a
mean?
pack. Yeah.
Pick them up. I packed in her little chair with us, and we sat there and she had her snacks and stuff and like we had a bird gobbling pretty far away, but he wasn't closing the distance. Um, and she lasted just about as long as I thought she was gonna last before she was
Hmm.
like she wanted to like go back to camp, which let's go, dude. That's fine.
Yeah.
It was like she lasted over an hour sitting there still. For a 3-year-old, that's an eternity.
Yeah.
So like,
Hmm.
so I was super stoked, and I just tried to make it just about her, and just make it all positive, and I was telling her stories and stuff, and like she was tripping on logs and everything like that, and just like you should, and
Yeah.
so it was awesome, and she's like, when we got back to camp, she was like, Daddy, can we bring our dog's name is Maddie? She's like, can we bring Maddie bear hunting? And I was like, yep, yeah, we could do that. You
That
know?
is cool. Yeah,
So yeah, yeah, good times to come, man.
that was one of the things that I did is I tried to make it all about him. It's
Yeah,
like if you want to go up on this ridge and glass over here, we don't need a glass where they're going, because I wanted him to enjoy it to the
yeah,
fullest. And there was a time where we saw a snake, so we were like, let's go catch that snake.
yeah,
Me and
yeah.
him. We just, and he was like collecting things. He found a snake shed. We found an old mule deer shed, just like a little 2 point. It was just
Hmm.
like we were just having fun. And then
Yeah, that
he
and that's how you got to be, man. Like one of my like strengths and weaknesses, I would say, is sometimes I sometimes tend to be a little too gun ho, and like um can sometimes take myself out of the enjoyment of hunting, because I'm so wired on what do I need to do, right?
mm-hmm,
And that is not the environment to take a kid into,
mm-hmm,
because you're just gonna ruin it, man. You're just gonna ruin the experience for them. With your buddies, that's fine. Screw it. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep,
like, like,
that's why I was
wh-
like, of course we're going on his tag.
yeah,
Yes.
but I know that, like, well, I hope, someday that she will be like that too,
Mm-hmm,
and be like, I shouldn't say like be like that exactly, but be like willing to, yeah, dad, let's go, like whatever, you know what I mean? Um, because like you're a successful hunter, right? Like you know what you need to do, and a lot of times it's not what you want to do, and
mm-hmm.
that's just kind of how I mean, it is kind of what you want to do, right? Like we are a glutton for punishment, I think. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
but in the same breath, a lot of times, like when I'm about to go after something, I'm like, this is gonna suck,
Oh, I think
but I
I've
say
said
it with
that
a
every
smile on
time.
my
Exactly.
face.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, that is going to be the worst hike out of that bowl. But I want to freaking get this buck. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is all like that. And I think that's why just 2 minutes ago I was like, I don't think I'm going to take him on any of my tags this year, but we're for sure
Hmm.
going scouting because I th- I have a little bit of an ego when it comes to hunting. I think I'm great. I know technically I'm a shitty hunter, but I my method is to outwork the animals. And
Yeah.
people are like, well, they're wild animals. They have way more endurance. It's like, I will hike an animal into the ground and I'll catch him slipping. He will bed, think he's gone over a ridge and that I don't know where he's at. I'll get to that ridge, find him, go around a whole other ridge, come back over the top, and that's how I kill him. And I've chased him 16 miles all day. And
Hmm.
it's like, that is just my hunting style. That's the only reason I'm successful, is because it's like, I will find him in the morning. I will put a stalk. I might blow that stalk. I will follow him with my binos and I will go over the ridge where he went, glass him again, and fucking keep stalking, keep hiking. I don't care how many ridges I have to go up and around to come back over on top of him. I will do it because
Hmm.
I have this philosophy, which is probably not a good one, but it allows me to be successful, is that my family's well being depends on my success as a hunter. It's like, could we be thrown in any time throughout history and me provide for them? And it's like, it's probably why I hike them into the ground and do 16 mile days when I have buddies who are like, I'm just going to glass all day, wait till I know that they're not going to move from this one particular spot, pattern them, and then on day 3, set up my stock. Like I have buddies who don't do any stocks until they feel like they know that they can make a kill. I just don't have the patience. I'm like,
No,
I gotta go.
yeah, I think there's something to be said about like there's being smart, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and being you don't I don't ever try to stalk recklessly, especially with a bow. With a rifle, it's kind of, you can mess up a little more with that.
Yeah.
But with a bow, my problem is everything everything I see, I think I can kill with my bow.
Same.
So like, so
uh,
I'll see an animal and almost like I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel sometimes trying to find a play.
mm-hmm.
Now, if I don't find a play, if I know, and with experience, you get to the point where you're like, that's not going to work. If I know that, then I'm not going to go over there, because I would rather. keep that animal there, and they will eventually, might be that evening. That's the other thing. I don't always wait for them to bed down either.
Me
Like,
neither.
because the other thing is like, it's like, talk about like mule deer, right? Like early season. The play by play in the book is to glass them up in the morning, watch them bed down, wait until about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock when they get up from their first bed and they move to their second bed, and then put a stock on them. That absolutely works. But dude, if they're up feeding and you can get over there, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, what? Like, their attention is on their food
Hmm.
when they're bedded. That the only thing they have to worry about is living. Like that's the only thing that they're paying attention to. But when they're feeding, when the deer's actually feeding, they're not their attention is not on like everything around them as much as it is when they're laying down. So to me, I'm like, man, if I got a route and a good wind, I am absolutely gonna try to go over there when they're feeding.
Yeah.
Like I've killed several deer like that. So especially during the rut too, like during the rut, hunting them during the rut, I never wait for deer to bed down during the rut, and some guys give me crap about that, like, about just, oh, you're just like running after deer. It's like, no, it's like, there's like a method to it, but like in the same breath, it's like, why, like I have a deer tag in my pocket and there's a buck right there. Why am I not going to go over there?
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't, that's just me though.
No, it's I guess to clarify, I don't do any reckless stalks. I will I will like I'm pretty methodical. It's like if I see him a ridge over, it's like okay, I'm gonna take a picture. Now I know where he's at. I'm gonna take notice of these markings on these rock walls. Okay, the wind. Constantly checking the wind. But I
Sure.
literally do think if I see an animal, elk or a mule deer, that I can kill it. I
Yeah,
do.
there's a way, dude. Like where there's a will, there's a way. Like you come up with it. Sometimes it might be crazy, like,
Hmm.
yeah, I remember on one mule deer, it was a giant buck that was bedded, ended up getting blown out, but like like he was bedded in these cliffs, and there was like this itty bitty little, like, looked like it was a foot wide ledge that was like kind of like switch back and down to him. I'm like, I think I can get on that thing. It's like 150 feet up, right? Like it's like dangerous. Some of these like
Hmm.
mule deer hunts. But like that, I was 100% gonna go over there. Um, Another hunter ended up busting him out of there. But long story short, so like that's what I'm talking about though. Is like like full, like I'm like sometimes forcing a stalk to happen, and like the more you look at that, like that like forced route, if you would, like the more possible it seems.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Like, so but dude, that's how you learn, man. And the other thing is, like, is that's cool about that is like I've done some stuff, particularly like bear hunting. Bears hang out in always in a spot you don't want to go to.
Hmm.
Like that's just how they are. Um, but going on stalks for those things, it's like sometimes I don't even think I can do it, like physically, like to
Hmm.
get to where they are. And there's been times in the past where I've just been like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna send her, and then found out I could do it. And then you come out of it a little bit taller, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh man, you like a little, you feel a little bit more capable of a hunter, and it's like you just grew a little bit mentally. I oftentimes will, I might get off on a little tangent here, sorry, but oftentimes will time myself, and like if I'm hunting country that I know very well, that I hunt in a lot, I will time myself on how far long it takes me to get to certain ridges,
Hmm.
because then I know, oh, I got 20 minutes of light. Oh, well, I can get to that ridge in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yep.
that's another thing. I think to rewind, to bring this full circle uh, back to, you know, uh, being successful, is it's knowing details like that.
Hmm.
Because oftentimes newer hunters, especially in the evening, is this happens all the time. It's like, oh, you're sitting there. and deer, whatever is out there, and you got an hour of light left, and the knee jerk reaction a lot of times is to be like, "Ah, I don't have time to get over
Yeah.
there." You know what I mean? And maybe you don't, okay, but one, I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen if you just try to go over there and you don't make it, and the sun does go down? Then you really know that you can't get over there. Um, but two, like if you hunt that country a lot, why not learn it like that, right? Because then you actually will know. I one story in particular. You have some of these things that stick with you, and these lessons, right? Biggest bear I've ever seen in my life. Um, I saw out there. He was like 700 yards away from me. Okay. Right before dark, and I had to cross like two drainages to get over to him. And I told myself, oh, I don't think I like I've killed bears in that spot before with my bow, but it was like 5+ years before that. So I didn't time myself because I was
Hmm.
in go mode, and I didn't go after that bear. And the next like couple days later, we ended up going after a bear over there, and I timed myself, and I was like, God damn it,
Could have made it.
I could have made it. I could have made it. But it's like you don't know if you don't go, and that's one that that kind of haunts me a little bit. So
What state was that?
that was in Arizona.
Oh, okay. Because I know
Yep.
you're you hunt bear in multiple states, so I was just curious.
Yeah, mainly just I've hunted bears in Arizona, Idaho, and Colorado.
Okay. And the
So,
biggest black bear you've ever seen was in Arizona.
oh yeah, 100%. Not even a question. Like I killed a bear bigger than that later on, but at the time it was the biggest bear I've ever seen.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
he was like every bit of, I don't know if you know anything about bears, but like the bear ended up getting killed later on by a friend of mine. And he's like a grizzly, man. Just like Arizona grows really big skull sizes.
Okay.
We don't grow 500-pound bears, but like a 300-pound bear, that's a big bear here in Arizona. But our skull sizes, if you look in the record books, like we're in the top. Like we like 20 plus inches, like that. We do that. You know, I shot a bear one time. Like first bear I ever killed was 7 foot with a 19 and a half inch skull, and that was like 10 years ago or something. But then after I didn't go after that bear I was telling you about, I killed another one a couple years later, and that bear, I think his skull, I mean, we roughed it. It was like 22 inches or something,
Oh,
which is
wow.
unbelievable. And that was just that's in Arizona. So
So have you done a grizzly hunt yet?
I have not. No, that's a um I would love to someday. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? Um, but yeah, just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
Gotcha. All right, Josh. Well, we could probably keep talking hunting for a long time, but I think this is a good spot to end it.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it. I don't know if you noticed that rocking on the bottle, good old
Nice, dude.
Argali. See, you got it on the
Love it.
shirt.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, dude, I appreciate it. We'll have to shoot a text, maybe do another one of these in a couple months or something. And one of these days, we still got to do a hunt together, even if it's
Yeah.
just packing out and doing some filming. Oh, really quick, all your pictures, are they awesome because your wife is a photographer? Because you've always
Um,
had great photos on social media.
so my wife taught me photography.
Gotcha.
So when I first started writing,
Hmm.
I didn't know anything about pictures, and my wife, I would